I'm very fortunate. I do see myself as an African first and foremost, so I'm grateful for my heritage and coming from South Africa. I think we live in one of the most amazing places in the world, and we have the most amazing people.
Welcome. This is the first episode of 6 African Trade Talks. The series is under the Africa Unlocked series, and we are here in the Winelands with Tim.
Hello.
Welcome, Tim. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Chad? Thanks so much for having me on your podcast.
No, happy to have you. And you are our first guest on our Africa Unlocked journey. So it's yes, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So we would like the audience to know who Tim is. Who is Tim?
So Tim is a creative being at heart. I've always been creative since I can remember. Born and raised in Johannesburg, actually just outside Johannesburg in a town called Heidelberg. I'm an 84 baby, so I'm a millennial.
Ah, lovely.
Yeah.
Just 1 year apart with me. I'm 85.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love people from the 80s. I think we're very original in that we're both from a digital age, but also the analog era when we grew up with, in a time before smartphones and all of
With
those.
faxes and telegrams.
Dial-up.
Yeah, dial-up. Yeah.
So yeah, that's me. I in a nutshell, I would say that I'm passionate about creativity and using creativity to make the world a better place. A better place for myself and my family, but also for those that will come after me, making the world a bit more equitable, equal, and leaving the world in a better space for my children.
Certainly, and I think, like you said, it's such a privilege to be a millennial because you can relate with the youngsters and you can also relate with those that are a little bit older, so it's a privilege. I believe you also migrated to Paarl. What brings you to this part of the world?
It's a long story, but moving to Paarl was an interesting journey for us. We lived in Johannesburg for a long time, and I worked in corporate there in Bryanston. I loved the fast-paced energy of Johannesburg, but we wanted to find something where the world seemed like it was moving a little bit slower, and we found that Paarl was a really great space where you still have that old world feel whilst having a young creative energy. And its proximity to Cape Town in the Winelands, the mountains, it really felt like coming home and coming to a space where I can express my creativity and where I can raise a family with my beautiful wife that feels harmonious and in line with my own beliefs and my own values. So yeah.
No, Paarl is beautiful. I mean, we've been going around and like you said, a few minutes you are in the holiday mood in Cape Town and you could be on the Winelands in a few minutes as well. So this is quite a special place. Let's talk about your travel experience. Where have you been? What have you learned?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I do see myself as an African first and foremost, so I'm grateful for my heritage and coming from South Africa. I think we live in one of the most amazing places in the world, and we have the most amazing people, warm and open. But I've been lucky to travel extensively over the last few years, through work and for pleasure, but mostly for work, in the line of work that I'm in. Lots of meetings, interviews, strategies with Fortune 500 companies. I've been lucky enough to travel to the US, to literally almost every major city in the US. Wow. I've been to the UK more times than I can imagine or can count. I've been to Europe extensively and feel very lucky that I've even explored places like Scandinavia, Norway, and Finland, and I've also been privileged to go to the East. I used to work for a Japanese multinational, or actually a global Japanese company.
Interesting.
Called NTT, and I spent 3 weeks in Tokyo in my early career, learning about Japanese culture, and
It was also in creative?
yes, I actually ran NTT's in-house agency at the time. NTT is one of the world's largest technology companies and systems integrators, and I can't remember the stat exactly, but something like 60% of the world's internet flows through their network.
Wow,
so
that's huge. Yeah, the
massive
Japanese are big on capturing big markets and old markets.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's quite interesting. Your business.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about your business. Where it's here, near, next.
Yeah.
I mean, the name. Where did it even come from?
So I believe in design thinking and using creativity to make the world better, to innovate, to solve some of our problems, the challenges that we have as humanity and as society. And South Africa has so many problems that we need to solve. But I think that sometimes we get trapped in the vision and we don't get down to getting our hands dirty and actioning things and making work of what needs to be done. We're either stuck in the past or we're stuck in a future that doesn't exist. So here near next is really symbolic for this idea that in order to get to your next, in order to innovate, you have to focus on what you have at your disposal today. So being purposeful, being mindful, being in the moment, practicing mindfulness. And it actually came from, I was reading a book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and it's a bit of a yogi book. It's a bit, new age, spiritual.
Yeah.
But it's all about this idea of often our fears or our regrets live in a state that is not in the present. And to let go of those things in order to be fulfilled, you need to focus on what you are doing right now, what you have today. Because that's ultimately the only thing.
Yeah, we only have today.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, true. Oh, interesting. So, your business, what do you guys do?
Yeah, so we started off as like a B2B marketing agency, and I use that term very lightly because nowadays marketing is evolving so quickly with the advent of artificial intelligence, generative AI. It really is changing quickly. But we started off in my background as a B2B marketer in helping big technology brands like Microsoft, Accenture, and Avanade to help them tell their story, to help them position themselves in the market and rethink their go-to-market, their value proposition. So that's where we started, but we're a full-service agency, so from strategy, ideation, brand development, corporate development, into content development, so social media, performance marketing, video content, storytelling, all the way into media, so like understanding your channel strategy, understanding who your target audience is and how you can target them in the most cost-effective way. So that's how we started. With any small business, you need to be flexible and adapt. You need to be agile because the market changes, the expectations of our clients are changing. And so we're starting to move into more of a B2C space at the moment. And we're excited about some of the work we're doing with clients like Netstar, who's a vehicle tracking company in South Africa, consumer-facing company. The work that we're doing with other brands to help them engage with humans, engage with customers. And like Chad, nowadays it's really hard to get someone's attention. There's
it's crazy.
Information overload.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, certainly. And, speaking of that, I like the word humans. The creative space in Africa and globally. Any insights? We're talking about AI.
Yeah.
What can you share based on what you're seeing and where are things going?
Africa is the future, but it's also the now. And I'll tell you what I mean by that is Africa has the youngest population in the world. So I think it's the average age is something like 24. I might be wrong, but something like that. We have a generation of people that are born digitally native and that are hungry for opportunity. And I think when you mix that creativity of Africa with technology that we have today, we can really unlock unprecedented innovation that the world has not seen before. So I really believe in Africa, Africa for creativity. That's the one point. The second one I think also is very poignant or important is that our labor cost is much lower than some of the more advanced economies in the world. So the West, for example, the cost of a billable creative hour, whether that is strategy or design or video production or animation or 3D, is a lot more expensive. And Africa has a unique opportunity to tap into that market and solve some of those creative problems that the world has at a much lower cost base. And through that, we can stimulate economies, we can grow jobs. We are in desperate need for jobs in our continent, but we can stimulate that creative industry so that we build a future for Africa that is bright and inclusive.
Amazing. You know, as you're talking, you just brought a memory. You know, I looked at BPO, industry a few years ago, and today, and that was for Zimbabwe, but today in Zimbabwe, there's one company that started maybe about 10 years ago. Now it employs close to 2,000 people. And they work for American businesses, but they're in Zimbabwe, so they actually use American time. So this is quite interesting. South Africa is a country to live. What's your experience? What would you tell someone who's looking at coming to stay in South Africa?
I think South Africa is, I've been to many places and I am a bit biased because I'm South African, but South Africa is one of the most amazing places in the world. You do not get the diversity that we have anywhere else, whether that's diversity of culture, whether that's openness of people, warmth of people, friendliness. I think our food is absolutely amazing. The standards of food in Cape Town was voted the world culinary capital now, I don't know how many years in a row. So South Africa is one of the coolest places you can be in the world, but it's also got some of the biggest problems in the world. We have the biggest Gini coefficient, as everybody knows. There's a huge gap between those that have and have not. We have crime, something that we need to fix. And there are certain things that, as a nation, I'm not very proud of. You know, there are certain things that I think we can do a lot better at. But even with all of that, I believe that South Africa is a remarkable place, and I think that if we can get our ducks in a row, South Africa can really become a investor-friendly, investor-positive place where people can see huge returns, and where we can grow a future for not just South Africa but for the African continent that is, that we've always dreamt of, the vision that we've always had.
No, certainly, and I always say South Africa is a very good example of how we can have a better Africa with quite a number of things working. So certainly, there are a lot of lessons we can learn from South Africa. Any books or podcasts or lessons? Where can we learn from?
Yeah, so I've had so many different voices over the years that has inspired me and where I've learned. I love Rick Rubin's work, The Creative Way. It talks very much about the creative process. Rick being a 9-time Grammy Award winning producer. So he's documented sort of the process and had a deep dive into things like creating a sacred space when you do creative things, thinking about rituals, thinking about the times of day when you feel more creative and why is that so. So I really loved that book. Then Tim Brown is the father of design thinking. I've learned a lot from him and his company IDEO. There's a lot of free courses for everybody out there that can go and learn more about the design thinking process and how design thinking can help us create products that are meaningful, that people want to buy, that are that when you take them to market, people just consume them. But also creating more human-centric experiences. The one example that everybody uses is this idea of kids going into MRI machines. It's quite overwhelming. It's scary, and a lot of the times kids need to be sedated when they go into MRI machines because they can't lie still. They're overwhelmed. This machine is making noise, and so IDEO and Tim Brown developed in partnership. I think it was with Seattle Children's Hospital. They developed a more of a storytelling approach where they would dress the kid as a pirate and they would make the MRI machine look like a pirate ship. And just by putting the customer or the person, the human at the center, they were able to reinvent that experience. And through that, children don't need to be sedated anymore. You know, they love going into the experience, and it's become this fun activity. So I think design thinking teaches us so much about how we can solve problems in the real world by not putting our own lens on it, by seeing the problem through the eyes of the person affected by it. And then, I love, there's a book that I love, it's called 14,000 Things. It's a list of lists. It's literally a book just with
14,000 things.
Yeah, 14,000 things. And I can't remember the author, I'll get that for you, but it's basically the author just documents everything that she's grateful for. Like she would say the raindrops coming down my window after it rained, or my pizza delivery guy thanking me for my tip. And she's documented 14,000 things that she's grateful for, and I have it by my bedside table, and whenever I feel like a little bit down and gloomy and blue, I open it up and I just remind myself to be grateful to be alive, grateful to have breath, grateful to have a job, you know, grateful to be here with Chad.
No, amazing. And I mean, you talk about gratitude. You know, whenever you use gratitude, you realize that a lot of the things that we go through on a daily basis that we might feel that are difficult, most of the things that we went through 5 years ago, 6 years ago, even 2 days ago, some of them we would have gone through them. So which means, but we usually go through them with gratitude. So thank you very much. And that marks the end of the podcast, and we're grateful to have you here.
Thank you to you, Chad.
Cool.
Thanks
Perfect.
so much.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
So this is the end of our first episode of Africa Unlocked, the Winelands. And